Hello and welcome to the Fantasy Live Show. I'm your host, Ian Hartitz. It is a great day to be great. It's a great day to break down all sorts of news from training camp. We got hype trains that are being started. We got injuries. We got new contracts, all that and much, much more here on today's Fantasy Live Show. Of course, though, I cannot accomplish this alone. Accordingly, we have international superstar. It's Kendall Valenzuela, a.k.a. K-Dog in the house. What's up, Kendall?
Ian, how's it going? How you doing? I'm excited to be back. International. Yeah, we're ready, Ian. It's like Mr. Worldwide out here. We're getting ready for fantasy drafts. We've got this.
Was doing good, Kendall. I got myself a honey cinnamon cold brew. Big fan there. Leg day today in the Hartitz household. Vibes were high until they weren't. I don't like to get emotional in front of you guys. On his day off, our one true king, Cordero Patterson, was released by the Steelers. On his day off, the all-time leader in kick return touchdowns for 5,500 total yards, 39 more touchdowns on offense, 12 years, countless teams, number 84 in your programs, number 1 in your hearts. Cordero Patterson, this one goes out to you, man. I'm pouring one out. I will not take any slander to the best kick returner in NFL history. I don't want to hear about Devin Hester. He did punts. Cordero Patterson. Hall of Fame run starts now. I will not rest until he's first ballot. Maybe get signed to a different team. It's not all doom and gloom, Kendall, but sad, sad day. And accordingly, if you would like 20% off Fantasy Live Premium subscription, we have code RIPCPAT. A little dark, I get it, but it's sad. It's sad, Kendall. I will always remember where I was today.
Just to be clear, he didn't die for the RIPCPAT.
Just to be clear, Cordero Patterson's alive and well. He actually sent a very funny tweet about this situation. But yes, this freaking sucks. I thought of all teams, Arthur Smith, this was your boy.
I know.
You traded for Jonnu. You can't keep CPAT around.
And on his day off, no less. He was showing up to the facility and his code didn't work to get in. And then he just decided to tweet that it was over. It's so sad. You'll keep drafting him. I know it for sure. You're gonna keep drafting him.
Cordero Patterson. Price has never been lower. All right, guys. Cordero Patterson. Hate to see it. All right, guys. We're gonna get back to some actual training camp news again, though. Cowboys RB1. Cordero Patterson has a nice ring to it. All I'm saying. It's time for the DraftKings opening lines. All right, Kendall, wanted to try to get vibes going back in a better direction. I also wanted to highlight a pretty good article we have on fantasylife.com right now, written by the great Jeff Ulrich, talking about the best fantasy football punishments, because there is no better way to get your fantasy football league really just into the league for the entire season than by having a last place punishment, okay? Everyone's gunning for first, but let's face it, injuries happen, this whatever goes wrong, ball's not even round, your team sucks in week 10. I don't blame people for not continuing to battle it out unless you have that last place punishment. So Kendall and I wanted to highlight 2 of our favorite punishments from the article. K-Dog, lead us off.
Okay, so I will say from the great article, you have to go read it, fantasylife.com for sure. I have to say, Ian, though, I love just everything about the Waffle House Challenge. Or if you want to go to a bar and you have to stay there for 24 hours, obviously safely, of course, if you're going to the bar, every drink that you drink is an hour off your time. I love the waffles too. I think the waffle one is so good. Ultimately, it's cliche, it's tradition, but I think that's always such a fun one. Even though everyone does it, it's so funny.
It's a tradition for a reason. It is a great punishment. And again, one that's not exactly going to break your, bank account either, which is another part that I try to keep in mind here. So good shout there. I like this one. You become bait in paintball, okay? You have to dress up like an animal, probably a chicken or something. Go to a paintball event with all your friends and stuff, and then they get to basically shoot you, bait you, with paintball guns, obviously. And yeah, this way, you're only really being laughed at by your league mates and a bunch of strangers there, okay? Like not a bunch of strangers, a handful of strangers, I should say. You're getting everyone together, though. You're having paintball. Like, that should be the key, Kendall. We don't get to see, it's harder and harder to get the whole league together. The older we get and stuff, people have family and real life responsibilities. So anything that can, again, just present itself a nice afternoon, at least for everyone else who didn't lose the league, sign me up there. Close us out with another one, Kendall.
Okay, I like the social media takeover because public shame is obviously why we're doing this and why we're in it. And if you're someone in your league that thinks it couldn't happen to you, it totally could. So like the social media takeover, but you have to do the TikToks, Ian. It's a get ready with me for a month straight. And it's a get ready with me, the guy, like whoever has to do it, but you have to do the get ready with me, film the video, post it on TikTok of why you lost your get ready with me, why I told you why I drafted Kyle Pitts and why it sank my team this season, Ian. Public shame, and maybe you get some TikTok followers off of it, though. Maybe you could get like a little advertisement. It's a win-win. Not for you, but
Is get ready with me like a dance that I should know?
No. It's like they're putting on like their clothes, their outfit for the day, perfume, all that stuff.
Okay,
That's
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Get ready with me. Why I tell you why? Yeah, Kyle Pitts sucks. I don't know. Sorry, Kyle Pitts. It's already early, Ian, and I'm already taking shots. I know.
We do have some Kyle Pitts slander coming up. Maybe propaganda. Stay tuned to find out. Last one, guys. A bedroom poster of the Commissioner League winner. This one, again, not so much public, but I would just hate this, all right? Imagine like just waking up every single day and having to look at whoever won your league. Again, do something about it. Doesn't have to be you. Give yourself that, extra motivation not to be that guy or gal that comes in last place. So again, fantasy football punishments. We actually have a punishment generator over at fantasylife.com. You can check out as well. Possibilities remain endless. If you guys feel like it, let us know in the comments your favorite personal fantasy football punishment. Again, though, this has been the DraftKings opening lines. Baseball fans, summer is in full swing and the season is heating up. From mid-season rivalries to breakout performances, every game is packed with drama, and accordingly, there is no better time to jump in than now with my partners at DraftKings Sportsbook. Right now, new customers who bet just $5 will get $150 in bonus bets instantly. Whether it's towering home runs or clutch strikeouts, you won't want to miss a moment. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and sign up using my promo code FANTASYLIFE. The crown is yours. And stay in on the action and use your $150 in bonus bets on DraftKings same-game parlays for a shot at an even bigger payout. Combine multiple bets together from the same game. Love the thrill of live betting? DraftKings has got you covered. Bet live on in-progress games right as they happen, making watching the games that much more exciting. If sports betting is not yet available in your state, don't worry. You can still join in on all the fun with DraftKings Pick 6 and have the shot to win cash prizes. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. New customers use my promo code FANTASYLIFE and bet just $5 on any wager to get $150 in bonus bets instantly. That's promo code FANTASYLIFE only at DraftKings Sportsbook. All right, Kendall, wanted to highlight some of the biggest injuries that have already unfortunately been going on in training camps. It's time for He's Hurt, K-Dog. Shout out Ed Reed back in the day in that Miami locker room. I was saying before the show, to this day, guys, whenever I stub my toe around my house, I have 3 little dogs running around. I yell out to all the dogs, I'm hurt, dog. What else? What's the point of living, Kendall, if we're not doing things like this in our everyday life? But kicking things off, we do unfortunately have Justin Jefferson dealing with a hamstring injury. Now, Kevin O'Connell did come out and say it is mild, and a Coach Speak Index, shout out friend of the show, does give KOC a 90% reliability with that. So Dr. Jeff Mueller said this should lead to 0 in-season risk. Seems like he has a chance to return to practice 1 to 2 weeks from now. So Kendall, I personally already had CeeDee Lamb ahead of Justin Jefferson before this news, so I am not actually actively, I should say, adjusting the ranks because of this. I think that if you want to rank Justin Jefferson anywhere from the 1st overall player to the 6th overall player, go right ahead. Anything past 6, I feel like you're overreacting. What say you?
Yeah. Oh, I agree 1,000%. It's one of these things, Ian, where at this point in the season, or in this point of the off season, I should say, don't overreact. Read the whole article. That's always what we say on SiriusXM. Please don't just read the headline. Read the whole article and then figure it out from there. I will say I had Justin Jefferson ranked as my wide receiver 2. I'll probably move him just to wide receiver 3, CeeDee Lamb, but we're not going to fault anyone for where you put him in that range that you gave. I'm not necessarily worried. I know some people are also worried, Ian, about like JJ McCarthy and they need to get the chemistry up, but I just think Justin Jefferson is quarterback proof. No matter who he's with, he's going to elevate their game. And so for JJ McCarthy, sure, you lose a little bit of reps with Justin Jefferson, but it's Justin Jefferson. I'm not going to freak out, Ian, unless it's something where the rehab whatever you're doing doesn't go well in the next couple of weeks. We just have to watch it. But I'm not. I'm moving CeeDee to number 2. I'm moving Justin Jefferson to wide receiver 3. It's fine.
Exactly. And again, as much as we do have unfortunate situations like what happened with Christian McCaffrey last year, Jahmyr Gibbs also had an August hamstring issue, which turned out to be absolutely nothing. So again, we don't have a guarantee that Jefferson's going to be more so on the Gibbs side than the CMC. But again, based on what we know, the learned doctors that we rely on for good fantasy football info are not too concerned about it. Neither are the Vikings coaches. Thus, I am not either. Moving on, we do have a bit more of a concerning injury, and that is Texans RB Joe Mixon, someone who we've actually been talking about over the last few weeks because he's had the boot on during the summer, and it just seemed like a situation where, well, they did add Woody Marks in round 4, signed Nick Chubb. Is Joe Mixon really okay? Well, 3 days before our Saturday report, Adam Schefter told us that Mixon will, quote unquote, be expected to be okay fairly soon. Not so fast, my friend. Ian Rapoport came out and did say that he's going to be out an extended period of time with a, quote unquote, frustrating foot injury. Kendall, I am not a doctor. I don't think you are either. I don't love when the reports coming out have frustrating in front of the injury. This does not seem good. He's going to be reevaluated closer to the season to determine availability. I mentioned Dr. Jeff Mueller at JMThrivePT on Twitter. You guys should definitely give him a follow. He said there's a high risk of unhealed right deltoid ligament or Lisfranc that was re-injured, aka high risk of in-season surgery if healthy doesn't occur. I don't like any of this, Kendall, and accordingly, I will be dropping Joe Mixon down the ranks quite a bit.
Yeah, I'm dropping Joe Mixon. He wasn't someone, Ian, and I'm curious about you, that I was overly drafting in the range that he's going. I think he's going 5th round on Underdog, and it was just, there were better guys. There was Travion Henderson, there's RJ Harvey. There's just better names in that range where he was going, where I didn't necessarily love Joe Mixon anyway this season. Hand up, I drafted a lot of him last season, and it worked out. Thankfully, I didn't need him that much during the fantasy playoff push because that was really bad and brutal. But no, you should be worried. You should be worried about Joe Mixon. I am now not, though, overreacting and saying to myself, well, now it's Nick Chubb season. I need all Nick Chubb on my team and he's going to be better. And I'm not a hater. I love Nick Chubb. Hand up, Ian. If I'm wrong on this, I'll be so happy because that means we get the Nick Chubb of old. But his efficiency, it feels like the best is behind him. Unfortunately, he's gone through some gruesome injuries over the past couple of seasons. And while, you could talk me into it, I think he's going 15th round right now, Ian. We know he's going to move up draft boards. I'm not going to be the one that's going to be taking him. I'm out on Nick Chubb. Honestly, I'm just out on this whole backfield. Woody Marks, I guess, when we're talking from a dynasty perspective, a lot different. Really late round pick, maybe a little bit different there because he could catch some passes. But overall, not something you want to hear from Joe Mixon, who's already, another year older. And we talk about older running backs all the time. Once they give us the examples of them being hurt, you always have to take that into consideration. So not great for Joe Mixon, a little bit better for Nick Chubb. I'll move him up a little bit, but again, I'm not going out of my way, Ian, to draft him. I can't do it.
I think it was a great Sigmund Bloom over there of Football Guys who said, injuries are going to find you once the season starts. Don't seek them out in the preseason before it's even happened. So again, it's a situation where, yes, every player at a certain price point becomes a value. But man, Kendall, Ramondre Stevenson's RB36, I'd probably take Joe Mixon over him, but that's how low I'm feeling about it right now. This is a low-end RB3, and I'm with you. Nick Chubb, not exactly shooting up either. I still think if you can get Nick Chubb going outside the top 50, where he's going, it's like Will Shipley and, Roshan Johnson and these guys that we also don't know what their roles are going to be. So at some point, again, volume does start to matter at that cheap of a cost. But we're also talking about an offense, Kendall, that a lot of people believe to have the worst offensive line in the league. We're hopeful that, Nick Caley, CJ Stroud, they're able to get the scoring up. But again, if we just kind of looked at this offense as a whole, especially with, as you mentioned, Woody Marks and or Dario Gumbawale taking the pass down work, it's not like that Nick Chubb is stepping into a high scoring offense or a great offensive line or a situation where he's going to get force fed the football. Just not a situation, again, that we're going to be going out of our way to get much, if any, exposure to.
And like I said, if the price is right, absolutely. If he stays in the 15th round on Underdog, sure, I'm going to take flyers on him, especially but I just see him, Ian. There's no chance that he's going to do that. People are going to see the name and they're going to say, it's Nick Chubb. I can't pass this up. And I'm telling you, people, you can pass this up. Really, we promise it's going to be okay. And again, I'm not trying to hate. I just look at last season, Ian. It was 3.3 yards per carry. He was a shell of himself. Yes, he's now, what 2 years removed from the really awful knee leg injury. So we can say say that, sure. But then he got another injury last season. So again, you mentioned it about the offensive line too. Like that just didn't feel like it got even better over the offseason. They tried, I guess, and they might have tried a little bit, but it's not one where we look and say, okay, now we're overly confident that this is going to be better. So again, I think the answer for me is just no. Like I'm just staying away. But again, if the price is right, if he's going, outside, the 12th round and he's still there, and I'm just saying, okay, fine. Same with Joe Mixon. If he continues to fall, I'll say, okay, if you have an IR spot, there's no reason, Ian, to just, you could take a chance. If he starts the year on PUP, you're able to put him in the IR spot. You just have to pick and choose with some of those guys who you want in that spot and who you don't.
Eye test reports on Nick Chubb in training camp have been mixed, to put it nicely. What just annoys me, though, about this, Kendall, is every time we see a running back, NFL teams rarely tackle to the ground in practice, okay? For good reason. You want the guys to stay healthy. And accordingly, like they are thudding up the running back at the most. You are not stopping them in their tracks. So we see highlights, if you will, of Braylon Allen and Nick Chubb and Javonte Williams. And I really think that sometimes these beat reporters are saying like 40-yard touchdown when, I kid you not, this running back would have been tackled 3 yards downfield. The defenders are literally playing with their hands tied behind their backs. And unfortunately, that's just what they have to do in July and August. Okay. But please, for the love of God, guys, chill out on some of these. I'm not trying to be I hate training camp highlights and stuff. Football's back. That's great. But the running back ones where we've seen 3 guys already tap them on their hips, calm down. That wasn't a touchdown. Okay, I'll get off my soapbox. But Nick Chubb, hopefully, again, going to be the comeback player of the year. I'm with you, Kendall. Would love to be wrong. Just trying to be realistic about a guy who, again, has a lot of wear and tear already. And as you mentioned, coming off a broken foot of his own last season. Last one that we want to spend a little bit of time on, Matthew Stafford with a back issue. So similar to KOC, we actually have a nice history of Sean McVay basically giving us the truth when it does come to injuries on his team. And the Rams are not overly worried about this, which is good. Dr. Mueller is also not overly concerned. The Rams have one of the best medical staffs with tracking data tied with recovery exertion timelines. With a conservative training camp regimen, he is expecting to ramp up and be ready to go for week 1. That said, Kendall, he's going to year 17. I mean, you look at basically just the injury chart of Stafford over the years. This guy has injured nearly every single part of his body at this point. I don't love when my veteran quarterback is already dealing with a back issue in July. Okay. So again, maybe he's going to be just fine and everything, but QB2, Jimmy Garoppolo, Davante Adams hasn't had the nicest things to say about Jimmy G in the past, to put it nicely. I'm not actively adjusting the ranks here, but I will say we've talked about that muddled wide receiver 2 range a lot this offseason, from basically Davante Adams all the way to Mike Evans. I've been prioritizing Davante Adams at the top of it. This injury could make me just a little bit less willing to click on Adams, even if, again, I'm probably not going to be dumpster diving him down the ranks or anything.
Yeah, I'm not moving him down the ranks. I'm still taking him. 3rd round is where he's going on underdog, Ian. So I kind of like it. It's just, you're right. I mean, whose back never really hurts right now? You get to a point, Ian, where like our backs are always going to hurt. So we're there with Stafford. I did take comfort in knowing that, McVay said that this was, somewhat known of an issue and that they were, going to handle it. He was going to start throwing a little bit later. So I do take comfort in that. I understand if people get a little bit worried and they say, okay, I want to move him down my rankings just for the next couple weeks until he starts throwing. Then when we get the highlight reel plays with Davante Adams and Matthew Stafford, we can move him back. But I'm not necessarily, freaking out about this. I just took him actually in a super flex draft because he fell pretty far. And I said, you know what? I'm going to scoop him up. If people are really that nervous, I'm probably going to take advantage, Ian, and just say, hey, I like this. If I wait on my quarterbacks or get a little bit sniped, which is what happened in this league, I'm going to go for Matthew Stafford and then make sure to get, one other guy along the way. But I don't mind this. I'm still loving Davante Adams in the range that he's going. We kind of know that this offense, especially for wide receivers, with Sean McVay and with Matthew Stafford, they're a good tandem to give you good fantasy production for their wide receivers. So again, I think we just have to watch it, but let's get Jimmy Garoppolo out of there so Davante Adams doesn't freak out. I think, wasn't he it? That was the Netflix scene, right? Where he was like, I got to get out of here. It's Jimmy Garoppolo highlight or low light, whatever you want to call it. And he's like, I got to leave. This was it. So we got to get that man out of there. We can't do this to Davante again.
I will say, look, if we knew Matthew Stafford was out, yes, we would be moving Puka and Davante Adams down the ranks. There's no doubt about it. I don't think they would suddenly be unplayable, though. Okay, I mean, this still is the Sean McVay offense. We've seen Jimmy G basically be one of the better system QBs of his time. He's still only 33 years old, not exactly a spring chicken. But Kendall, again, sometimes the Week 18 stuff, I don't know about you, but once the fantasy season's over, I really am not paying as much attention as usual to Week 18, kind of our first Sunday off the entire season. Last year, Jimmy G, 334 yards and 2 touchdowns in week 18. And that had no Puka Nacua, no Cooper Kupp. They were basically using backups. No, not exactly the highest competition on the other side either. But again, if the Rams offense, if you think of it as, a top 5 or top 10 group of Stafford, I'm just saying maybe they're closer to 20 as opposed to 32 if they unfortunately have to go to Jimmy G. So get better, Matthew Stafford. We all of us fantasy managers would appreciate that. Want to quickly go through a handful of other issues. We do have Darnell Mooney dealing with a shoulder injury. Falcons accordingly brought in old friend DJ Chark. It's some sort of AC sprain or labral issue. Dr. Mueller did say they should be near 100% for week 1. So right now, not concerned, not dropping Mooney down the ranks. Unfortunately, they did have Treylon Burks suffer a fractured collarbone. He has accordingly been waived. Not looking good for the former first-round pick. And that A.J. Brown trade continues to look worse and worse by the minute. Kenny Pickett dealing with a hamstring injury. Seems like more of a short-term issue, but hey, you're obviously in a situation where you're battling for that starting job. Can't exactly help yourself by winning it if you're not on the football field. Juwan Jennings is dealing with a calf injury. We don't know the severity of it, but we did find out as Shanahan was talking about it that he also suffered another calf injury during OTAs. So had a calf issue, high ankle sprain, and hip injury last season. Stay healthy, Juwan. A lot of us are counting on you to put up some numbers. A lot of us have drafted you in a lot of drafts already so far. Would be a lot cooler if he is healthy to go by week 1, but we will continue to update you along the way. Good news is Ricky Parasol is back for the 49ers at least. Justin Fields dealing with that toe injury that, again, the world seemed to be ending. Well, don't worry. He actually is already back in 11 on 11s, seemingly a full go. A good reminder to not always assume the worst, despite some of the mainstream media's best efforts. Finally, with the Bears guys, Colston Loveland with the shoulder and even Luther Burden with a hamstring are back at practice. Loveland even getting some rave reviews as well. So handful of other things to keep an eye on. Marshawn Lloyd hobbled off today. Oh my gosh, injury gods. One time, please give us some Marshawn Lloyd good health. Bashaw Tootin has a mild hamstring injury. Keep an eye on that. Najee Harris eyewash continues, although their GM kind of gave us a quote saying, we're taking it easy, not too concerned. Chris Godwin continuing to go through recovery. So again, a lot of moving factors. Kendall, any of these ones I just listed, making you move anyone too far, higher up or down the ranks?
No, not really. I just got to ask, do you care about the Browns starting quarterback? How much do we care? Respectfully, if you had to pick, I do too. If you had to pick, what do you think the split is? We've gotten that question a lot actually recently, and I'm not surprised about it, but I think it is spooking people about looking at David Njoku, Jerry Jeudy, and all that. And it's so funny because I just do tend to say I don't necessarily care, but Joe Flacco would probably be the best. But I don't know. They can't go into the season with 4 quarterbacks, right? They're not going to do that. One of these guys is going to get cut.
I think they actually might. And if they did cut someone, it'd probably be Shedeur Sanders, but it seems like he's at least putting his best foot forward so far. The thing is with Joe Flacco, yes, it might help you win games in the year 2025, but he is going to be, obviously the least possible guy to be your long-term answer. So I do think we're going to see all 4 guys get starts. Look, no one is as fantasy friendly as Jameis Winston. Let's make that very clear, Kendall. But man, if you had to pick a second just backup quarterback to bring out the best in your receivers from a fantasy perspective, might very well be Mr. Joe Cool Flacco. So we'll see what happens there. But guys, let's go ahead and turn things to a positive note. We got some love in the air with some fantasy camp bromances heating up. Raiders quarterback Geno Smith just consistently has some of the best quotes in the entire NFL, whether it's "they wrote me off and I didn't write back," to what was the Vegas one, Kendall basically saying he came there to take down the whole house. And now he's got a great one for Brock Bowers. Quote, "One of the better tight ends in the NFL. I feel bad every time I don't throw him the football." Well, Fantasy Life projections certainly do expect Bowers to be getting fed early and often. He is tied with Trey McBride for a position high 129 targets right now. So Kendall, obviously Bowers cost a pretty penny in fantasy drafts. We were talking about a round 2 player. I've been drafting a ton of them because I see a very similar outlook for Trey McBride. He goes in round 3, and George Kittle could very well be the tight end 1 like he was last season. He's going in round 4, sometimes even round 5 if you happen to be lucky enough. So haven't gone out of my way for Bowers in round 2. That said, Kendall, that's a pretty terrifying fade because I have no doubt how good this guy is. And man, are there any other tight ends that have a higher target ceiling than him? I really don't think so.
No, I don't have a lot of Brock Bowers either, Ian, and I'm going to change that in the next month because I cannot be the one that goes into however many drafts, and it's not a fade. It's really not a fade. It's just not how I usually build my teams. I will go for the, elite running back, the hero RB approach, and I'll say, all right, now I need to focus on my wide receivers. I have the most George Kittle that I ever had. Even last season, I loved him, but the price that he's going right now in the 4th round is just feels like a steal, and it feels like it's not going to stay that way for long. So I'm with you. I need a little bit more Brock Bowers, just because, Ian, also when we look at this team, I feel like almost Geno Smith is always written off. And it's so funny because some of the stats that he had with the Seahawks, you and I have talked about this a lot, but like the way that he was able to play with that offensive line, the offensive line was so bad and he was able to make them look a little bit better than they were. Now you're reunited with Pete Carroll, which I think a lot of people are kind of brushing under the rug a little bit and not remembering that they know each other. They know each other well. And that's who, believed in him before. So with this offense, I look at what happened last season with the quarterback rotation that they had. And this is the best chance that they have with Geno Smith to get better. This is the best quarterback that he's going to be playing with for since last season. And so to me, I look at it and I'm like, I'm not fading him. I just need to be able to look at that price and say, all right, he's in this offense that, we're not saying that they're winning the Super Bowl or anything, but Geno Smith is going to elevate this team. And then they went out and got Ashton Genty. I think there's a lot of good here. So I need more Brock Bowers. That's all I have to say.
Jacoby Myers continuing to be one of the more underrated guys. And I'm so tired of the fantasy community. Oh, why take Jacoby? What's his upside? Because he's a wide receiver 4. He keeps finishing as a wide receiver 2. That's not a bad thing. Goodness gracious, people. But Kendall, I challenge you, though. You said you want to draft more Brock Bowers. Change one of your alarms. Write that down. Make it be the first thing that you're waking up to in the morning. I had to do that last week with Tyler Warren. Side note, how many alarms do you have to wake you up? Are you one of those crazy people that have 90?
I was going to say I've got 3 because I know that I just have to wake up or else. But there's a lot of them from 6 all the way down to 9 a.m. It's great.
Oh my! How many? 30?
No, it's a lot. I could probably go in and show you. It's great. When have I ever, Ian, slept till 9 o'clock in the morning? Why do I even have that option? But it's I don't know why I do it. But yeah, I'm going to set an alarm. Yeah, it's from 5:30 and then I can keep scrolling.
Oh my gosh!
I just want to have the option.
It'd be more fun just to. That's fair. Okay. I'm not trying to criticize or, sleep complain here, but draft more Brock Bowers. All I'm asking. You got plenty of alarms. One of them should be draft Brock Bowers.
Amen.
More positives out of Tennessee. We got Nashville heating up. Number 1 overall pick, Cam Ward. Everyone loves talking about, he's not being talked about enough. So let's actually talk about the guy and his love for Calvin Ridley. We actually saw a cool little skit, Kendall. They were, the media team was working with Cam Ward, and they said, Cam, describe yourself in 3 words. And he responded, Calvin Ridley sidekick. So again, Cam Ward's been on the Calvin Ridley train. I think before the draft, even he was on playing video games, and they asked him who his favorite or best wide receivers in the league were. He said Calvin Ridley, and also Treylon Burks in the top 5. So he's saying all the right things, and also we're getting all the right returns. Love Titans beat reporter Easton Freeze. He's a good follow for you guys out there. And he actually said Cam Ward to Calvin Ridley is just as fun as it could possibly be today at the Titans Stadium practice. Not sure you can draft Ridley high enough in fantasy this year, to be honest. So I know beat reporters not exactly, grinding through the ADP and the projections for all these guys, but hey, no reason you can't get excited about your guy. Calvin Ridley, Kendall, really is one of these players right now being drafted as a wide receiver 3. But man, I think once we start seeing the actual target volume he could be getting on a weekly basis, dark horse contender to actually work his way up into the wide receiver 1 range.
The Calvin Ridley, and what did we talk about before the show? We need to talk to Dwayne about giving him more targets, because I can't imagine that I'm looking at our projections and you're giving 113 targets to Calvin Ridley and 72. I love Tyler Lockett. We have to make this stop. I don't know who needs to do it. It might be you, it might be me, but we have to give Calvin Ridley more targets. And no matter the way you look at it, again, when we talk about quarterback upgrades, Will Levis, this is a quarterback upgrade when we're looking at Cam Ward. It feels like we haven't talked about him enough, but I don't know, put the Mayo cologne or Mayo coffee cologne aside, and you've got Calvin Ridley, who led the league in air yards and ranked 6th in downfield receptions last season with a bad quarterback. So you're telling me that he's not going to be able to produce a little bit better with Cam Ward? The price doesn't make sense to me, but I like it because I'm going to scoop him up every chance I get. He's one of these wide receivers that I know I've written up. Adam Ronus loves him as well as one of these breakout candidates that can come out and just really not only secure his ADP, but outperform it as well. So I love Calvin Ridley. This is a better quarterback situation by far. They've tried to upgrade this offense as well. So it's just BFFs. It's like the book club. It's like the breakfast club. Whatever you need, just go out there and do it with Cam Ward, and we love it.
I have been complaining to Dwayne about this target projection ever since he got it in there. And for the record, guys, if you've been listening to us all off season, first of all, thank you. We really do appreciate it. But man, literally since March and April, I've been pounding the table for Calvin Ridley as someone who really could get the improved quarterback play and then could just dominate targets based on this depth chart. Just 113, tied for 27th in these fantasy life projections right now. So had 136 and 120 over the course of these past two seasons, even 143 in just 15 games back in 2020. So Kendall, I think I need to make my way down to Texas, hang out with Dwayne or Friedman, get them all hopped up on some Mike's Hard Lemonade, and then just when they are ready to crash out, hack into their computer and change these projections myself, man. It's getting to a point where enough is enough. Gotta take matters into my own hands. Calvin Ridley, again, right there. Right. He's going next to like Chris Olave and Jerry Jeudy, two other guys who I do think, you're seeing pop more in the targets relative to where they're going. But yeah, I'll take Cam Ward over Tyler Shucker, Spencer Rattler, and whatever, sack quarterback we're going to see in Cleveland. Last one, Kendall. It's actually our lovely thumbnail. Shout out George for being a hero as always. But Michael Penix showing Kyle Pitts all the love, said after, I believe, their first training camp press conference, see, we got Kyle Pitts the ball today. Going to be a lot of that. So it's funny that Penix had that attitude now, Kendall, because we did not exactly see that attitude when they were actually on the field last year, week 16 through 18 with Penix under center. Drake London had 39 targets. In second place was Ray McLeod and Bijan Robinson with 12. Darnell Mooney missed the game, still had 11, but in fifth place in that 3-week stretch was Kyle Pitts with just 10. So obviously had that game-tying touchdown against Washington, but man, we've seen a few flashes from Kyle Pitts, and maybe that preseason hamstring injury, I think he had a knee issue later in the year as well, played a bigger factor than we thought. But Kendall, in the year 2025, are you going to fall for this Kyle Pitts propaganda again?
Ian, listen to me. Everyone watching right now or listening, wherever you get your podcasts, do not do this. Do not do this to yourself. We love good mental health. We love you having great days. We love you not having to worry about your tight ends in fantasy football. Do not do this. Like Michael Penix Jr. is trying to sabotage your fantasy football leagues. He's playing against guys that don't know. He's trying to get them to take the bait, but you are not going to take the bait. You are not drafting Kyle Pitts in the year 2025. But drama aside, Ian, I cannot do this. I understand, if you look at the price, right? 13th round, what do you have to lose? Okay, sure. 13th round, do whatever you want with your life. But I'm taking Hunter Henry Brenton Strange ahead of him. I can't do it. I can't do it again. I'm just off. I just value my mental health a lot more than maybe some other people do. And that's okay if you want to take him. I'm just not doing it. You can't make me.
Kendall, you do our fantastic waiver wire article throughout the season. Just so you know, Kyle Pitts is going to have 50 yards and a touchdown in week one. You're going to have to really grapple with this problem. Are you ready?
I guarantee you, Ian, here's what's going to happen. And we can clip this. He's going to be at the very bottom and it's going to say honorable mentions. And it's going to tell you the exact same thing that I just told you. It's going to say, don't do this. But if you have to, go ahead and pick him up. If you spend $10 of fab on him, that's your problem. I just can't do it, Ian. You can't make me.
You guys heard it from K-Dog, and we're going to hold you to that. So, guys, again, those have been some of the better training camp storylines. We also have some more hype that we're going to buy or sell. First, though, a quick word to our friends over at Yahoo Fantasy. This episode of the Fantasy Life Show is presented in part by Yahoo Fantasy. And this year, I, Ian Hartitz, am playing on Yahoo Fantasy, and you should too, whether you're a first-timer or a veteran making your millionth league. My home league that I actually drafted last Friday, I know it's ridiculously early, but we could only have a certain weekend to get the boys together. It was a fun time and able to do it. But yeah, got the squads uploaded afterwards. Of course, had to do our sticker draft and everything. And one of the best parts about Yahoo are the preseason draft grades. I mean, what a better way to just get people yelling at each other before a single snap has been played. I personally got a B-, so I'm of course going to say these draft grades are meaningless. That said, when I get that A+, I'm going to be bragging about it to all my friends. So Yahoo draft grades, again, I just love really everything about it. Been using it really for my entire life. And guess what, guys? To celebrate 28 years of fantasy greatness, Yahoo Fantasy is dropping 28 big new features over 28 days, giving you more ways to play, more ways to draft, and more ways to win. It all begins on August 4th, and you can stay tuned and get started by creating or joining a Yahoo Fantasy League today at yahoofantasy.com/fantasylife. Again, that's yahoofantasy.com/fantasylife. Kendall, we've gone through injuries. We've gone through some pretty nice quotes between teammates. Now we're going to go through some players who are getting a lot of hype from beat reporters and coaches alike and trying to parse through if we should actually be taking anything away from this. So first up, I want to talk about Keon Coleman, who apparently had a rough first day at Bills camp, but has really been coming on strong over the last few. Khalil Shakur said Keon's taken that next step for sure. Quote, I mean, today, dude put on a show. Reminder, dude just turned 22 in May, and he is going outside the top 50 wide receivers in fantasy, which is even cheaper than what Gabe Davis was being priced at in 22 and 23, despite still having Stephon Diggs on the roster. Kendall, you guys know I've been loving me some Keon Coleman all offseason long. Are you with me? Come on. Let's buy in. Let's do it.
Oh, I want to buy in so badly, Ian. I will say I have drafted him, so I'm obviously not fading him, especially at the price. The price is really nice in the 9th round when you still have, you've still got Trey Harris's and Rashad Bateman's, who I know you absolutely love, and Rashid Shaheed's around, but I'm not fully off of it, Ian. I just can't believe that we're saying this with Josh Allen as a quarterback over there. But unfortunately, it feels like for all of these guys, even Khalil Shakir, included, this offense doesn't scream fantasy upside in the past game. And I feel like that's maybe just where we're at right now. But I do hope that Keon Coleman is able to show us that he can be that reliable guy that they need. I know the wrist injury, like you had mentioned before, like that really took him out, and they said he was never really himself after that. So we can go back on that and say, okay, now he's going to be healthier and it's going to go in. And we did see, I mean, he did show that he could be a threat on the boundary. You saw him in some of those contested catch situations. Like, it was fine. But once that wrist injury happened, you were never like, oh, this guy's blowing me away. So I'm definitely taking shots on him just in case he does come out and he is this huge wide receiver 2 threat that they need. But it feels like, Ian, I don't know, in this offense that they're going to continue what they've been doing, which is spread the ball around, and you don't necessarily, Khalil Shakir was good, but you're not like blown away by anyone except for James Cook, who we've talked about before could have some touchdown regression. And so which is crazy again to think that this offense with the QB1 for fantasy, and we don't have this, this friendly offensive environment for the wide receivers. It sucks.
Vegas has them number 1 in the NFL and their, implied point totals going in. We should have more guys to get excited about, but hey, certainly spreading the ball around. Joe Brady continuing to run the rock. It's working for him, until it doesn't in January against the Chiefs. Sorry, Bills fan, but it has been the case in 4 of the last 5 years. Hopefully, again, they can get over that hump this year. I will say, in general, of course, with all this stuff, the real, truly meaningful stuff out of training camp is going to be the just workload and the sort of, depth chart associated notes. And what we have heard is that, again, something like Josh Palmer, Khalil Shakur, and Keon Coleman in 3 wide receiver sets. So at a minimum, we'll see what Keon's able to do if he can earn more targets, separate better, but we shouldn't absolutely see, Amari Cooper and Mac Hollins eating into his workload like they did last season. Let's talk about rising second-year running back, staying in the AFC East, Kendall. Jets RB, Braylon Allen, looking great, apparently, and we got a mock draft on fantasylife.com a couple of months ago. I really went in on Chris Allen for drafting Braylon Allen. I was even quite rude about it. I was like, why would you? Maybe it was Sam Wallace. Either way, I was going in on it. I was like, this is probably a hopeful handcuff running back, but Isaiah Davis is there. And oh my God, look at this team. They're not going to score points. And you got Justin Fields doing his dual threat stuff, which usually doesn't help RBs in Fantasyland. Maybe I was a little harsh. Could we, Kendall, see Tanner Eggstrand, of course, formerly of the Detroit Lions, institute more of a 2-back committee? We see Breece Hall's getting that Jahmyr Gibbs role. We see Braylon Allen getting the David Montgomery role. The offensive line is good. Again, Braylon Allen, someone where, I'm still, need to be sold here a little bit, but he is really cheap. And I do have a rule of thumb where, I'm not trying to hate too hard in any picks going outside the top 150. They're going that late in the first place. Are you liking you some Braylon Allen?
Yeah, I don't mind it. Well, you're not paying. I mean, if we're talking about getting Kyle Pitts in the 13th round, you have to be okay with getting Braylon Allen in the 15th round or whatever it is. Same like we talked about it with Nick Chubb. So it is interesting that you said the David Montgomery role, because that's what a lot of people are going to look at with their new offensive coordinator who did come from the Lions. So of course, Ian, we have to loop all of them in together, and they're obviously going to do the exact same thing from their last teams. But it is interesting because in a more run heavy offense, right? If that's what we're thinking this Jets team is going to be, we already got that quote a few months ago where, I don't know if Brees Hall was already in the doghouse, but they said it was going to be, a 1A, 1B, 1C situation on this Jets team. So I'm trying to not totally forget about that. Although I really do like Brees to be better this season. But for Allen, I'm okay with it. I like his price. If we really do think this is going to be a more run heavy team, I don't know if they're going to give him that, full workload the whole time. So could he be David Montgomery? Sure. That's what we can tell ourselves, but you're not spending this crazy price on him. We always talk about these handcuff running backs. And if something were to happen at this depth chart, he would go into this huge role. So again, 15th round, you're not doing anything. You're not giving anything up. That range is Rico Dowdle, Will Shipley, Nick Chubb, Roshan Johnson. So I have been scooping him up a little bit.
Just turned 21 in January. And again, the more important thing here is the fact that it does seem like Braylon is separating himself as the clear-cut RB2. I'm not talking about the swing pass he took for 50 yards because there wasn't a single defender on that side of the field, or the one that the Jets sent out where, again, he basically got tapped up by a linebacker and just continued running for an extra 40 yards because why the heck not? It is training camp after all. But hey, Braylon Allen may be making me eat my words for the millionth time ever here in the fantasy football streets. Staying in the AFC East, did this by accident, but hey, we'll just roll with it. We got Patriots wide receiver Pop Douglas, apparently the best wide receiver at Patriots training camp, which, by the way, Kendall, I will say, love Patriots beat reporters. I love all beat reporters. I appreciate you guys trying to give us all the knowledge. The amount of shine that random Patriots wide receivers have got over the last few years, and then just the brutal on-field results we've ended up seeing in the regular season. Just saying, maybe take it with a little bit grain of salt. The Javon Baker and Jalen Polk hype pieces. Kendrick Bourne's out here balling too. Stephon Diggs is looking back to normal. Come on, at some point, maybe we need to chill out a little bit. All that said, Mike Vrabel himself, not even a beat reporter, did say that Pop Douglas was one of the Patriots offseason award winners. And then we do have Patriots beat reporter Taylor Kyle saying Demario Douglas has been the Patriots' best pass catcher, and it isn't close. We can talk ourselves into the Josh McDaniel slot receiver role over the year. Julian Edelman, Danny Amendola. Now, don't exactly, as much as I know you love Drake May, Kendall, I don't think we can exactly anoint him as a Tom Brady just yet. But that said, it does seem like at this point, Stephon Diggs and Demario Douglas are going to be featured and starting. Hopefully, Kyle Williams can win that other role. You getting interested in some Pop Douglas?
Yeah, they're making me interested, which is kind of sucks because I'm trying to not always fall for the hype. Because what was it last? I mean, that receiver room, Ian. I remember you writing about them, but they were so bad. Jalen Polk averaged 2.6 yards per target or something, and then Javon Baker wasn't even. I mean, I might as well have been out there. That's how bad it was. I think he caught one pass. So hopefully it's going to get better for Drake May. But I always try in, especially going into this season, if I have a feeling about a quarterback that I think is going to step up in the passing game, maybe in the run game as well, I almost have to look at his wide receivers and say, okay, if he's going to be able to do this, who's going to step up with him? So I am keeping a little bit of an eye out for Douglas at camp. I have 0%. Right before the show, I went to see my exposure. I haven't taken him yet just because I've been taking more Stephon Diggs at his price. I've obviously been taking Drake May, and then I've been taking Kyle Williams. So there are others obviously in this group that I like a little bit more, but for the price tag, you're really, again, we're going back to price, and it's going to be different across ESPN, Yahoo, wherever you're drafting, it's going to be way different. But it does have me taking a second look, right? Because we know we're going to see Diggs. They need someone else to kind of emerge besides the other guys that I named. So Douglas, he's barely finished as a top 24 receiver in any week, but I guess there could be a difference. If I think that Drake May is going to take a step forward in the passing game and in the running game as just a fantasy quarterback overall, who could he bring with him that's a little bit of a cheaper option? It could be him. I won't hate on it.
I prefer not to need a wide receiver at that point in the draft. I prefer to be stacking up on handcuff running backs that late. That said, when I have needed one, Cedric Tillman, Darius Slayton, Diami Brown, Andre Yoshivas also, who, by the way, Bengals beat reporter, shout out Chess Liam for asking him the question in the first place. Basically saying Andre Yoshivas cemented as the wide receiver 3 in Cincinnati. Jermaine Burton getting some hype, but I think that's more so as a depth piece at this point. Pop Douglas, I do think fits in there enough when you're that late in the draft, guys. Just the fact that you are starting in an offense that has at least some level of open target competition. Again, enough to get me interested when it's going to be a late round pick in the first place. So let's talk about someone who actually could be rising up a bit more in the ranks, Kendall, and that is Tank Bigsby, shining before the pads have even come on, apparently. So mentioned earlier in passing, Bashaw Tootin dealing with a mild hamstring injury, but could be enough to keep him out of practice here for a little bit. And per beat reporter John Shipley, coaching staff and beat reporters alike giving Bigsby a lot of love even before the pads come on, seemingly got the bulk of key reps. Once again, looking like the focal point, though ETN got extended run in a 2-minute drill. So the concern here is that we're not going to be getting a full 3-down back out of Tank Bigsby. Caught some passes at Auburn, was getting some hilariously positive rave reviews before his rookie year, but man, 16 targets in 33 career games. I think he's dropped already, I kid you not, 3 passes that directly turned into interceptions. So bad things happen when you throw the ball to Tank, but my God, Kendall, you look at those advanced metrics last year, this dude actually was up there with Bucky Irving as one of the league's best running backs in creating yards after contact and, making explosive runs. So Tank Bigsby, the cheapest of all the running backs in Jacksonville, even though it seems like he has a chance to start, are you in?
No, I'm not in. I can't even say maybe I'm going to be in. I don't know, Ian. I just really don't. I'm not feeling it right now. And maybe I'm going to be wrong on this. Finished RB 37 last season when we talk about the efficiency issues. I don't like this backfield right now in general. And again, things can change. We change our rankings all the time. So in a couple weeks, if they really do say that Tank Bigsby is the guy that you want to be drafting, he's going to be taking majority of these touches. I just don't like the 3-headed monster that it looks like it's already becoming right now, because they have Bashaw Tootin. Obviously, they wanted someone explosive. That's what this whole new regime came in, and they wanted these explosive playmakers, and they went out and get Travis Hunter, and Bashaw Tootin's out there, and he's going to be that guy. But the splits, Ian, are they're really, really gross. 112 attempts for ETN, 101 for Bashaw Tootin, 132 for Tank Bigsby. It's just making me not like them right now. So right now, my answer is just no to all 3 of them, and maybe I have to look at it. And I think I've taken the most Bashaw Tootin actually out of all of them. But I haven't, again, gone out of my way to be taking him. I think it just falls in a range where I look around and I say, I need some other running backs. I need to make sure that I go and get my 5 or 6 in these underdog drafts. But I'm curious what you think, because I can be talked into it. People are trying to talk up, ETN, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, maybe he's not that far away from being a year removed from, having a great fantasy football season. Maybe I'm just, being a little bit of a hater. I'm unsure.
What you said is all correct, but I think that uncertainty is why everyone is so cheap. It's why ETN is the only guy being priced, inside the top 36 in the first place. So just the fact that Bigsby is going next to guys that are more clear-cut handcuffs, I think it depends on your build, okay? If you're in a situation, I did a draft I mentioned this before, but I was in a spot where I kind of ended up going 0 RB. Chuba was my first guy. I think Brian Robinson was my RB2. So at that point, maybe I do want more of a Tank Bigsby because I might actually have to use this guy in the flex. I should draft him over Tyler Algier because I actively need some standalone value potentially, versus if I drafted Bijan Robinson and then I was able to get, maybe a Chuba Hubbard, maybe also a Kenneth Walker. Now my RB4 more likely than not isn't going to be in the lineup anyway. So I'll take Tyler Algier's best case scenario and Isaac Orendo's best case scenario over a Tank Bigsby, who again, even if the injuries fall his way, just is never going to be able to stay on the field as much as some of those other guys. So that would be my main advice here. But that said, again, he did make the most out of his opportunities last year. Did fumble 7 times. Ball security, job security, as we know. Also not exactly a strength of Tootin's out here. So we'll see what happens. But again, this continues to be one of the biggest situations in this depth charts to keep an eye on throughout training camp. And really good news, Kendall. Hunter Renfrow back and making some plays. We're seeing the vintage route running on display over at Panthers camp. It was a situation where he was dealing with an autoimmune colitis disease last season. That's why he was out of the NFL. Dropped all the way down to 150 pounds. So awesome seeing Hunter Renfrow. You mentioned Nick Chubb, Kendall. I would say right now, I haven't fully gone through every roster, so if I'm forgetting someone, forgive me. But Nick Chubb or Hunter Renfrow winning NFL Comeback Player of the Year, sign me up.
Okay, I like that call out. It's good. It's good that he's back. It's good that he's healthy, right? Like that's the exciting part. I can see myself because, like you said, I do the waiver wire articles at fantasylife.com. Make sure you guys, all our articles 100% free. Go check them out. But I could see myself potentially writing him up. I'm not walking away in drafts with him unless it's a really deep league in. And then again, it depends on what your build is looking like towards the end of those rounds and who you need. But a good story nonetheless, right? You're not. I mean, it's going to be exciting if we see the Bryce Young from the last, few games of the season, and he really is able to stay consistent like that after the benching and everything like that. Yeah, let's Hunter Renfrow, Jalen Coker. I mean, Adam Thielen, Tedderell McMillan. Let's go. It's good.
It's low-key a fun wide receiver room. I'm not sure how good they're going to be in fantasy outside of T-Mac, but it's a fun receiver room, getting Bryce Young some weapons. And again, just good to see Hunter Renfrow playing football again. Mm-hmm. Also, Kendall, last one here. 7th rounder Jakori, Kroski, Merritt showing some explosiveness for Washington. Actually got a shout-out from head coach Dan Quinn, who said it's the violence of the cuts, that he can get his shoulder square and get downhill fast. Really, really interesting situation here, okay? So we actually had Jakori score, 18 touchdowns with New Mexico in 2023. Transferred to Arizona, was about to be their starting running back, but it was this weird situation where because of a jersey number mix-up earlier in his career at Alabama State, he had to be held out for the season after the first week. So it wasn't a character issue. It wasn't an injury. It was a weird problem with his number back at Alabama State. So apparently he actually stayed with the Arizona football program the rest of the year, practiced, and was by all accounts, a great teammate. Also want to give a shout out to Sharp Football Analysis, is Rich Rebar, who's been high on Jakori throughout the offseason. Won the East-West Shrine Game MVP. So no, I'm not telling you guys to go out there and all of a sudden anoint him as a starter. I still do think Brian Robinson and then Austin Eckler are going to be getting the bulk of the carries. But I will say, of all the backfields where maybe, just maybe, we could see a day 3 guy start to work his way in because the top 2 guys maybe aren't that great at real life football at this point, I could be talking to Jakori, Kroski, and Merritt. I know you're in some of these drafts with me, Kendall, where they go for 24 rounds. I can think of worse picks outside the top 20.
You're right. I'm thinking of a really, really, really late round draft pick, like your last pick, because again, you don't need him in your home leagues. You don't need him in your redraft because he's probably going to be on the waiver wire. But for a team that has Brian Robinson Jr., Austin Eckler, Jeremy McNichols, Chris Rodriguez, I don't think when was the last time they had a 1,000-yard rusher? 2021, 2020. I don't know. It could be fun. Not saying that he's going to do that either, but just, someone to keep an eye on. Could be fun.
Shout out Antonio Gibson. Some of us still believe. So again, Kendall, look, we mentioned Jakori, Kroski, Merritt in July. So now when he has 1,500 yards, we can just say we're on it, from the beginning, of course. But guys, this has been, again, Training Camp Hype Trains. Now for a quick, talk about how sometimes, that's right, money can talk. Fourth quarter here on the Fantasy Life Show. Get the 4s up, everybody. Kendall, Terry McLaurin ended his holdout. He's back in camp, and now his ankle hurts. Basically, that gif of the WWE wrestler Kevin Nash, standing up from the wheelchair, and he's got his leg in his cast. But if that was the reverse, okay, he got there and then went ahead and said, I have this ankle injury. So per Adam Schefter, McLaurin unlikely to accept less than DK Metcalf's new deal, which was worth $33 million per year. However, it is worth wondering if Cortland Sutton, who, by the way, shout out 4-year, $92 million extension. The fact that Sutton is getting like $23 million per year, I feel like they're going to be trying to put that number closer to Terry. So personally, I think they should pay Terry. You have your rookie quarterback. You have the cap room already. Deebo Samuel is making more money than Terry McLaurin. This was your second best player on the team where you made the NFC Championship. Kendall, the vibes are high in Washington for the first time in my lifetime, I think, at least since 2000, at this point. I'm a little bit older than that, but seriously, it's a situation where players actively now want to come to your team, and your first move is to not pay the most loyal member of your team. Again, someone who scored how many freaking touchdowns last year. So Terry McLaurin, again, can we pay Terry McLaurin, Kendall? Is that too much to ask?
No, I'm always team pay the players. What are we doing? Now he's doing a Devontae Adams where he's like, my ankle, which by the way is totally fine if you need to do that because you do not want to get hurt out there in training camp before you get that contract signed. Do what you need to do, Terry McLaurin. I know people are going to look at him. He's gotten some hate, Ian. I've posted about him on TikTok and people are like, he doesn't deserve to be paid. But I don't know. I think it's not a coincidence that when you have the best quarterback that he's played with in his career, that he's putting up, the second most touchdowns in 2024. So I look at it sure. I mean, Dwayne does think that regression is coming when we talk about, touchdowns and all that stuff. I know. We'll get to it, Ian. But all that to be said, like, I think the ankle's going to be fine, or whatever it is that he's dealing with. I think he just wants to get paid, and that's fine. Pay him. Pay Terry McLaurin.
You got to be pretty freaking good at football to have all these nerds out here calling for regression in the first place. So last thing I'll say, what if Terry McLaurin does? Congrats, guys. You're trying to win a Super Bowl this year. Now you quite literally maybe have the single worst group of pass catchers in the league. Deebo Samuel, Noah Brown, Luke McCaffrey, Zach Ertz. That's who you want to go to war with the Eagles. Pay Terry McLaurin. That's all I'm asking. Guys, thank you again for tuning into the Fantasy Live Show. We're here Monday through Thursday, 5 p.m. Eastern, Fridays at noon throughout the rest of the offseason into the year as your one-stop shop for all things fantasy. So appreciate you guys tuning in. K-Dog for producer Kelsey. I'm Ian. Appreciate you guys. And until next time, take care, everybody.